Parthenia Grant.
Hi, I'm so excited to be back here at Divine Love Talk discussing the new film. It's been out a couple of weeks called Interstellar. In my humble opinion, this is one of the most profound movies yet to explore the power of love and how humans can harness that creative force to bridge the gap between limited linear third-dimensional consciousness that's bound by space and time, and in the process we can enable ourselves to quantum jump into the fifth dimension of ascended awareness that operates within the realm of quantum physics. And as we know, quantum physics is the realm of infinite possibilities that is unrestricted by time and space. Now, I personally think that Interstellar foreshadows the death of modern science with its mental boxes and death consciousness via an event that creates a tipping point, forcing humanity to jump into the inner reaches of outer space by moving out of our heads and into our hearts. So right off the bat, my co-host Kim Michaels is joining us. He saw the movie last night. Welcome, Kim Michaels.
Thank you.
And I have a caller, George, from Sylmar, California. George, you saw the movie after I posted my little ditty about it on Facebook, and you were prompted to go and see the movie by yourself, even though you don't generally go to the movie theater. And afterwards, you decided that whoever is watching over us wanted you and many others to see this film, which led you to conclude that we are wasting our unlimited potential and are not spending enough time working on raising our consciousness. So I wanted, I know you probably have some questions, but with what you wrote, I wanted to ask you what you meant when you said that at different times you felt at peace and at other times you felt like crying in the film. Can you tell the audience what moved you between those two emotional points?
Yeah, definitely. The sensation of crying, it was a connection that I really don't feel with films.
Okay, wait, George, I think we've got, we're having trouble hearing you. Hold on, where our engineer is trying to see what he can do about it. Okay, Kim, while he's working on that, I'd like to have you just jump in there with your first emotional gut reaction to the film. Is George still there? He's going to call back and see if we can get a better line. Okay, so Kim, you're on.
Yeah, I thought it was an unusual film because it does make you think.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's always those are my favorite kind of movies.
Exactly.
I don't go to the movies to forget my daily life because I don't need to forget my daily life, but I love something that makes you think.
Okay.
And I think it did that very well, like you said. The difference between heart and head is very important. It does, of course, have some logical problems, which we might talk about at some point.
Well, definitely. I'm not saying that, it's the be-all and the end-all, but it's tackling some important issues. George, are you back?
Yes, I am, Dr.
Oh, that's much better. Okay, so George, can you tell us about the emotional reaction to the film?
Definitely. Of course, it was a scenario that was playing out with a daughter and son.
Okay.
But I felt it went further than that. It described what is actually going on right now in our planet.
Uh-huh.
People have a lack for understanding of one another, and they just tend to just focus on the issues that are going on the problems, on what they really shouldn't be focusing on. And it kind of brought to perspective that if one really listens to their heart and to the gut instinct, which most don't, it can lead to endless possibilities. The whole nudging of the book, the scenario where the girl would mention that she wasn't scared of the ghost, that the ghost wanted to help.
Yeah.
And there's been many instances where I felt the same, and it just kind of something clicked in my head, like, wow, there's no coincidence in life. There's a reason why this film it hit me so hard, and I believe it's going to hit so many people the same way, because we're funding new space programs where people are becoming so in touch with themselves, And I believe this can trigger a lot of people to understand their inner being, and that love can really transcend anything. And it just, I really can't put it to words, but it brought me to tears to see it on the screen and see that there's other people out there that are trying to send the same message out.
Well, I kind of intuited that might have been what you were talking about, because you're one of those young people that I've met. I think you're barely 20 or something like that.
Yes, I'm 23.
Okay, you're 23, but you're very tapped in and tuned in spiritually and on metaphysical level. But you also mentioned something about our lack of consciousness regarding how we're polluting the planet. And I thought about the chemtrails, which are very close to my heart. But what struck you the most about the damage that we're doing to the planet?
Overall, we're basically polluting the atmosphere with trying to feed ourselves with food that necessarily doesn't just contribute to our health. We're wasting endless resources, trees, plants, everything to make clothing, things that we really don't need. Electronics, we waste funds on things that are basically pointless. They don't take us to a higher level of consciousness. If anything, they bring us to a material world, and we lose track of what really is important. We lose track of what really matters to us, because in the end, we could all be wearing Gucci and and everything, but we can feel empty inside, where a homeless man could feel at peace.
Yeah.
Because he has love in his heart. He understands what it is to actually live and to understand other people, that whatever a person is going through, it just depicts what they have been through life, and rather than being judgmental, it's, okay, this person has been through a lot. Let me try to understand and show some compassion, have some empathy for them.
Well, I would definitely agree with you that compassion is something that we all need to work on cultivating, and wearing Gucci is not going to help us when we're starving to death.
Exactly.
Kim, can you jump in there with your thoughts on the message about the destruction of the planet?
Yeah, I look into what George was saying, but I also really looked into what he was saying, that there are people who are trying to do something about it, and I think that was portrayed well in the movie. I feel that there were people who were willing to look beyond their everyday lives. Like George was talking about, most people are just running, pretty much like lemmings running towards the sea. You know, they're following the crowd. They don't stand back and think about why we're doing what we're doing. But there were some people who were willing to do this, and however misguided the scientist was, who thought he could solve the equation with math. Nevertheless, the whole mission, I thought, was inspiring to see, because that's what I've been doing my whole life, along with thousands of other spiritual people. In whatever organization people are in, they have found something. You know, we're doing something to raise consciousness, and that I found inspiring.
Yeah, and I also love the fact that they did focus on a young kid who is able to think outside of 3D consciousness and the scientific model, and she kind of represented the new kids that, George, I think you represent that 5D consciousness that we're moving into. And George, I know you have to go back to class, but you have a question that one of the other students who's coming on in a bit pointed out, where you wondered if that voice was the voice in your head coming from another dimension, or was it your voice, or was it, a voice coming from the other dimension? And Kim, I'd like for you to address that question.
Well, I think we all have access, of course, to a mind that's much bigger than the mind we normally use and that we call ourselves or our personalities. And it can be partly our higher selves, and it can also, of course, be the Ascended Masters who have just simply gone further in the evolution of consciousness than we have. And I think we all have that potential. That was, to me, the weakness in the movie, that there wasn't portrayed to be anything outside ourselves. But that's, of course, with my background, that's where I'm coming from.
Of course. Well, no, you're not the only one, though, Kim, because George brought up that question, and Bella, who will be calling in a minute, she had that same she had several questions that were related to the fact that was missing in the film, that the conclusion of the main character was that it was just us. So do we have Bella on the line? Okay. So, George, thank you so much for your write-up and for joining us and for continuing to think outside of the box.
Oh, I will continue to do so, and thank you, Dr. Grant, for the opportunity to enlighten myself. I definitely made my day and gave me something to ponder on.
Wonderful. Okay. Bella? Oh, Bella is going to have to call back, too. So, Kim, Bella had some really interesting questions. So I'll introduce her as we're trying to get her to call back on the other line. But she pointed out that the main character concludes that it was human consciousness transcending time and space without even considering the possibility of God or beings of higher consciousness that might have been helping us out. And I know that was from the perspective of the main character. Bella, do we have, are you?
I'm here. So my question is, are we the supreme consciousness in the universe who are making things happen, or are there beings in a higher dimension, such as ascended masters, who are assisting us in expanding our consciousness?
So, Kim, we were just introducing that a minute ago, Bella, before you got on the phone. So, Kim, I'm going to turn that one over to you.
Yeah, well, this is, if you look at the movie, the logical problem in the movie is that the idea is that we receive a message that helps us survive. But the movie explains this as this message is coming from ourselves in the future.
Right.
Where we have survived and developed a higher five-dimensional civilization. Mm-hmm. And the question in the movie then is, if we have already survived to a higher level, why do we need to send a message to ourselves so we can survive?
Right.
And that's why it ties into your question, because I think the only logical conclusion here is that if we are getting messages that help us survive, then they're coming not from ourselves, but from a higher state of consciousness, beings who have developed that consciousness.
Well, Kim, I would have to agree with you on that. And I did feel that the other astronauts were more open to the possibility that there was a higher consciousness out there, because they kept saying we think that they did this, that they created the wormhole to help us. But definitely the main character left us thinking that it was just ourselves talking to ourselves from the future. So, Bella, I agree that was pretty confusing, and it left a vacuum there. So, did Kim address your answer?
Oh, absolutely. That was actually very interesting. That was a very logical answer.
Okay, so Bella, ask your next question right before we go into commercial break. Okay.
Right. My next. This is actually one of the most important questions that I have for myself. I've been thinking about this all night. Can we conquer gravity and time so that we can move into the fifth dimension consciousness while still on Earth? And if so, how can we do this? What is the process of this?
Okay, so Bella, hold on. We're going to address that after commercial break. Thank you. You're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, with my co-host, Kim Michaels, and we're talking about the movie Interstellar. We'll be back with more questions about the movie after commercial break. Hang on, Bella.
Hi, folks. This is Larry Minetti, and many of you out there suffer from skin problems. Well, I've been telling you for months how to solve that problem. It's called Herpantocin. It's the most unique and effective formula on the market. It cleans your skin from the inside out. It gets rid of all kinds of acne on your back, your neck, your face, so you can feel and you could look like a movie star. Herpannocin is a natural supplement. It was created by Dr. Wayne Diamond and his staff, and trust me, this really works. I've been on these supplements for over a year now and never had a problem. There is no reason in the world to wake up and be afraid to look in the mirror. You trust Larry. Just try it. Call 888-467-4200. 888-467-4200.
At age 47, Judy Crane's aorta ruptured near her heart. She had a stroke.
When I woke up, I had right-side paralysis and I had severe aphasia.
I'm Aileen Ellis.
I knew exactly what I wanted to say, but the words weren't coming out correctly.
With therapy, Judy got better. Now she helps other stroke victims deal with the many issues, including emotional trauma, a stroke causes.
Nothing it takes the place of talking with someone than someone that's walked in your shoes.
Carla Bosch Reno is Judy's mentee. She had a stroke at 41. Then she had problems reading.
Everything looked like a foreign language to me.
The hospital paired Carla with Judy for support.
And to have somebody to talk about your challenges and to laugh together at some of your mishaps is the most wonderful, wonderful thing.
To find out about peer stroke mentoring, contact the National Stroke Association at stroke.org. Primetime Focus is brought to you by AARP. I'm Aileen Ellis.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. Really? Yeah. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-471-5173, 800-471-5173.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, with my co-host Kim Michaels joining us. We're talking about the movie Interstellar, and we're taking questions from callers, and we've got Bella on the line. So, Kim, would you kindly address that question first, and I'll jump in?
Yeah, I definitely think we can overcome the fourth dimensional consciousness while we are on Earth. And I think we need to, otherwise I don't think we will survive. And I think that was even shown in the movie also between the lines, how the scientists were trying to solve it all through technology. Mm-hmm. And where, as you said, Parthenia, the main character, especially Anne Hathaway's character, talks about love, and that love is the key and that love is the solution. And I thought that was beautifully done.
Yes. And plus, she pointed out, which I thought was really important, that love was the only thing that could, other than gravity, that could transcend time and space. And the other part of that question, Kim, is if we can transcend 3D consciousness and move into 5D consciousness while still on the Earth. Bella, were you asking, do we have to ascend in order to move into 5D consciousness?
Well, the question is whether it's possible on Earth.
Okay.
But if so, then how do we move?
Yeah, how do we do it?
Third to the fifth. What is this process? Is this a real and a possible process for us to do this, to accomplish this on Earth?
Okay. So, Kim, I'm going to throw that one back at you.
Yeah, that's a little harder to answer, I think, without defining what 5D consciousness is.
Okay,
and
so why don't you do that?
Well, I don't know that I have one single definition, because I have heard a lot of people in the New Age field talk about 5D consciousness, but I've heard very few people defining it. They all talk about it like we're all supposed to know what it means.
Okay.
But I do believe that we don't need to ascend. We can transcend that because gravity and space and time seem like limitations because we are in the 4D or 3D consciousness. Mm-hmm. And I believe that we can transcend that where we no longer see them as limitations. That doesn't mean they're going to disappear, right? It doesn't mean the Earth is going to certainly stop existing. The Earth couldn't exist without some form of gravity.
Right.
But it just means that we are not going to see them as the absolute limitations we see them as now.
Right. And so, Bella, in terms of answering, how do we move out of 3D into 5D, and to expand on what Kim began to talk about with what is 5D consciousness. So, Kim, this is my idea of 5D, is where we are moving out of, them versus us and the duality, and separation consciousness of 3D and into a higher understanding that we're all connected on the planet and that what one person does affects, the quantum field. And so therefore we're interconnected and we affect each other and we affect everything else. And so therefore, if you understand that, then you would not want to do anything that would harm yourself or the planet or anyone else, because it would come back on you. So the 5D consciousness, Bella, in my opinion, is a place where we are thinking and acting and being from a higher consciousness of love for yourself and love for humanity and the planet. Does that make sense, Kim? That's just where I've gotten to on 5D consciousness.
Yeah, I think so, and I even think in the movie it was portrayed somewhat. There was a point where they're just about to launch, and Anne Hathaway's character, I can't remember her name in the movie, but she says they don't have to face evil out there.
Yeah.
And then when they come to this planet where Matt Damon is, they're actually facing evil in the form of him, because he is an example of what you're talking about, completely self-centered.
Yes, 3D.
And he actually feels alone to the point where he is ready to endanger the survivability of the race just so he can see another face.
Exactly.
Whereas if he had shifted his consciousness, he would realize we are never alone.
Exactly. And also, to me, Matt Damon represented that 3D consciousness of, the authoritarian, the submission to authority, where he didn't care about, individual humans. He just wanted to fulfill his mission, allegedly, to the whatever he had been.
But his mission was himself.
Exactly. But that was his justification for what he was doing. Bella, we have to go into commercial break. Can you hang on for the next question, or should I just do it for you later? Bella? Okay. So Bella will be back with her next question after commercial break. You're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN, and we're talking about the movie Interstellar with my co-host Kim Michaels. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
Are you married? Do you and your husband both have term life insurance? If you both don't, you should. You have a lot to protect. Call now, get a free quote for your husband, and while you're at it, get a quote for yourself too. Because you both need term life insurance. Call now. 800-915-9542. 800-915-9542. 800-915-9542. Rates are at all-time lows. We'll shop over 30 top-rated companies to get you the best possible rates. Term life insurance. It's the perfect way to protect the quality of your family's lifestyle. You and your husband both need term life insurance, so call now for a free quote for the both of you. 800-915-9542. 800-915-9542. 800-915-9542.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really?
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-471-5173, 800-471-5173.
There's no better way to say I love you. I'm thankful you're in my life. I'm glad to be with you. I'm thinking about you, or I miss you. Done with a spectacular flower arrangement from ProFlowers.com. A gorgeous fresh flower arrangement is a must to dress up every birthday, holiday, or anniversary. As a special treat for you, your beautiful flowers start at an amazing low price of $19.99. And ProFlowers.com will include a free vase with floral orders. Imagine a beautiful bouquet of 100 blooms for only $19.99, with a free vase included. Every festive bouquet is guaranteed to last at least 7 days. Tell your loved ones you're thinking of them with flowers. Go to proflowers.com/radio and enter your code to receive this special offer. Enter code DAISY. That's proflowers.com/radio, code DAISY. Send a bouquet they'll never forget from proflowers.com/radio, code DAISY.
Musicians, this year at Guitar Center, we're counting down to Black Friday by offering a new doorbuster deal each and every day. That means from now until Thanksgiving, we're featuring guitars, drums, keyboards, DJ, and more from top brands at savings of up to 75% off our everyday unbeatable prices. A new doorbuster deal is revealed every day and good until 1 p.m. or while supplies last. Visit your local Guitar Center or GuitarCenter.com to discover the incredible limited time savings during Guitar Center's Countdown to Black Friday sale.
Hi, this is Stan Weissleiter.
And Malcolm Berman.
Join us each week for The View from Over Here on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Tuesday at 10 Pacific Time and 1 p.m. Eastern.
We'll talk about everything and anything. News, sports.
That's The View from Over Here. Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Right here on CRN Digital Talk.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk on CRN. We're discussing the movie Interstellar from a spiritual perspective. Bella is still holding. We have Michael Ray from Los Angeles who is jumping in with a comment. Michael Ray, welcome.
Hello, Dr. Grant?
Yes.
Oh, hi, welcome. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, always love having you.
Oh, me too. I love being on your show. So you had mentioned Dr. Mann, and the whole premise of his identity really echoed what we see in Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness.
Ah, yeah.
Which is a short novella about colonialism and really what is an underlying element in this film Interstellar. And so much so that it's really echoing that storyline, except the setting is now in space.
So what aspects of colonialism? You mentioned the lack of diversity in a note to me, which was, it was sort of like in the breadbasket, and there definitely was no diversity in the little town that the astronaut came from.
Absolutely. I mean, the people that we see that do represent the others, as I would put it, African American, Native American, etc. Those people are really seen in the working position.
Of course.
They're the other, it's the other astronaut that's left behind on the satellite, and the other two astronauts come back, and it's 23 years later, and he's aged. His whole purpose is really as a worker bee.
Worker bee. What do you think that might have anything to do with the possible plan with the power elite to, with population control and decimating the population? It kind of smacked of that to me.
To some degree, I'd say yes. Although I don't think race is the underlying factor so much as money and power.
Mm-hmm.
I think those also play into the formula as well, because that's really what determines who gets access to these things.
Yeah. So are you saying that the new colonialism is more economic, although colonialism was always kind of economically driven?
I would say yes, absolutely. There's so many things that we don't see in the film that really reflect that, and it's really the people that are not represented.
Okay.
There's very few females in the film, very few people of color, very few.
Well, let me ask Bella, the female Anne Hathaway. What was really interesting is that she got it right in terms of the planet that she chose, that she said that they should go and visit. It was the one that was habitable, and she was going with her heart, which love was motivating her to go there, but she was also, there was a balance between her scientific mind and her heart. And I thought it was interesting that, the lead male character overrode her simply because he felt like she was making the decision from her heart. And so he, I thought, was still reflecting some of that patriarchal 3D consciousness that will ignore an emotion if it's coming from the heart. Bella, what did you think about that? Is Bella still there?
It was. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. To me, it was very simple and clear that there was lack of faith in each other, and trust was becoming an issue.
Yeah.
He was not able to trust her, and she wasn't even sure. Her faith, she was lacking that very 100% strong faith. She knew she feels it, but then again, the conscious mind would kick in and say, this just doesn't make sense. So I think this is normal, and this is what happens. This is just two of the main blockages that we have from growing, expanding our consciousness. One is lack of faith, and two is distrust in other beings.
Right. And, she was outnumbered. There were 2 men against 1 woman, and she did her best to argue her case, but she got overridden. And, Michael, I thought it was interesting that the African-American guy didn't even say anything. He just kind of went along with the lead. Kim,
yes.
Kim, can I get your observation on that?
Well, I think you all made excellent points. I mean, I think Matthew McConaughey's character kind of represents the macho male, that really is part of the problem of 3D and 4D consciousness. And that's what we need to transcend, honestly.
Yeah. And what was interesting is that his daughter, who was female, as a little kid, she was right and he figures it out in the future that the message that she had deciphered was stay, because when he gets through the wormhole, his whole thing is, he's telling his daughter, please make me stay. Don't let me go. So he does have this incredible lesson about overriding the heart, and he represents the that consciousness that goes with the head. So anyone can jump in there.
I would say that the daughter, I mean, she's possibly she was my favorite character.
Yeah, definitely.
She was astute, she was smart, she broke the mold of what the expectations were. And, I mean, that was just a phenomenal job at writing and characterization, I'd say.
Yeah, she was to me the real hero in the film.
It was also really interesting that she was the one who saw through Dr. Mann's attempt to solve the equation.
Yes.
And I think she used her intuition to do that. It wasn't her intellect.
Yeah. Well, you mean the older scientist. It wasn't Dr.
Yeah,
Mann.
the older guy.
The father. Yeah.
I thought he was mad. Anyway.
Yeah, she figured it out. And I thought what was really interesting was how she told him he was trying to solve that equation within this box of science, which she already knew as a child that science had serious limitations, and she was already thinking through the quantum field.
Yeah, and that's what we need to see, and that's like we've talked about before on the show. Women are generally much more into using their intuition, and that's why I think they will drive the progress if we can get the male men to get out of the way.
Or maybe also women, not to acquiesce so easily, because that poem, do not go gentle into that good night, rage against the dying of the light. It has a lot of connotations, and I think it has a message for women, to when that your gut is right, to really stand in your wisdom, although it can be really difficult at times. She tried, but she didn't really argue the case really hard.
Agreed.
Bella? Bella?
Agreed. If I may, I can move on to my next question.
Okay.
But before I do, Dr. Grant, I do have a question for you since you brought up comments about fifth dimension. Do you think this is an individual accomplishment to get into fifth dimension?
Oh, absolutely.
Or collective consciousness?
Well, I think that the individual affects the quantum field, and Kim Michaels and I talk about this a lot on the show, that when we focus on doing our own work to raise our own consciousness, that work is actually benefiting the quantum field. So, Kim, you could add to that.
Yeah, obviously it's both, but it needs to be the individual that drives it, because what we are, and this was portrayed well in the movie also, that the collective consciousness had become a closed system, and all they could see was to do more of the same.
Yes.
And therefore it takes individuals who are willing to go against the mainstream in order to create progress. And that has to be done individually, but of course as more and more people do it, then they become the mainstream, and that's how they can pull everybody else up.
So, Bella, I think that's the answer to your question, how can we move from 3D to 5D? You and I have talked about this a lot, with you being an Armenian female and having to, work against a very male-dominated culture. It takes women like you, young women like you, standing up and saying no to the status quo. And you've done a very admirable job so far.
I'll tell you that. Okay, so thank you so much. Great conversation. Now, finally, my third question is if it's too late for us to avoid the Earth becoming uninhabitable due to things like global warming, drought, pollution, weather modifications, or are we going to have to move to another planet? Is it a must, or can we really save this planet Earth?
Kim?
Yeah, we already are saving planet Earth. We are shifting our consciousness. There is absolutely no doubt that we can change the Earth and we can all survive here. Much of what you are responding to here is simply propaganda that is done for political purposes. The situation is not nearly as bad as it is. However, if we continue to be closed systems and refuse to shift our consciousness and work with the Ascended Masters who have already shifted their consciousness, then it will happen. Then we can't save it. We cannot save it from the old state of consciousness. But I think enough people have already moved and started to move beyond it that I have no doubt that we are saving it.
Yeah, and we have to, Bella, we have to hold out that hope, and it's people like you and George and Michael Ray that give me hope that we are going to make it, because it is about doing the work to shift your consciousness on an individual level. And Michael Ray, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yes. I'm sort of itching to jump in.
Go ahead.
It's never too late.
Okay.
And really, with work in permaculture and agriculture and shifting away from modern industrial agriculture, I'd say we're spot on. We're moving forward at leaps and bounds. People like Ron Finley, poets like Octavia Butler.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that have been saying this for years now, and we're waking up.
Well, and for those of you who don't know Ron Finley, he's the what do we call him? The guerrilla gardener, the gangster gardener.
He's a gangster gardener. He's our local gardening advocate.
Yeah. Inner city and beautifying the inner city by creating edible landscapes on the sidewalk and different parks and areas that are not being used in the city. And that's a huge step in the right direction. And Michael, you're following right in his footsteps with the work that you're doing. And can you quickly tell us a little bit about how you're making a difference in saving the planet?
Quickly, it's transformative landscapes and transforming our places of commerce into ecologically sustainable systems where we have food that we can eat. We have access to clean water, clean dirt, and clean soil. That's really what it comes down to, and that's what we're doing in South LA and beyond.
Well,
I gotta go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Bella, you still there?
Here.
Thank you, Bella, so much for joining us. I know you have to go back to class.
I do. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Dr. Grant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Kim, next week, as a segue into what Michael was just pointing out, I have a Native American I would call him not just a traditional shaman, but he's just so full of wisdom. He travels all over the world, working with other indigenous groups and tribes, and he just came back from New Zealand, where he's working on at different sacred sites to balance the droughts and the adverse weather patterns that are happening all across the globe as a result of the chemtrails and the weather modification. And his name is Blue Thunder, and he's going to be talking about the work that he's doing here in Southern California. Kim, I don't know how aware you are of what's going on with the drought situation here in California, but he made me feel inspired after watching the movie that, you know, there are groups that, like the Native Americans, that have been holding the vibration along with Mother Nature for the planet to try to keep things balanced, and that we all need to join hands with these different individuals and these different groups that are trying to combat the negativity that is affecting the weather patterns. And I know that in your work you address that we can do something about this. So if you could move into that a little bit, because that's one of the big messages in the movie Interstellar, is that the Earth is pretty much doomed. And I thought it was because of the things that we've done with the weather.
Well, I think that's part of it, but I think, as the Ascended Masters always say, everything is an expression of consciousness, and everything is affected by our consciousness collectively. Mm-hmm. And so the key there is definitely a shift in consciousness.
Oh, wow. So we're already going back into commercial break. Okay, so this went really fast. We will be back after commercial break to wrap this up with our conclusions about the film Interstellar. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, and my co-host Kim Michaels is joining us via Skype.
CRN listeners, when you come to Southern California, stop by a great restaurant, the Dresden Restaurant at 1760 North Vermont Avenue in Hollywood. Enjoy great entertainment, like the music of the legendary Marty and Elaine at the world-famous Dresden Restaurant. The Dresden was the location for the making of the movie Swingers. Now you can swing with stars Marty and Elaine. Plus, enjoy great food, too, like French onion soup, artichoke hearts, and many other great appetizers. Seafood, there's salmon, shrimp scampi, New Zealand orange roughy, halibut, Lake Superior whitefish, and specialties, like veal marsala, piccata, and parmigiana. Plus, we've got a great roast rack of lamb, chicken piccata, and cordon bleu, and pasta dishes, too. Steaks, filet, New York, Chateaubriand for two. Much more, too, including pork chops, prime rib of beef, and an incredibly extra large cut of prime rib. It's the Dresden Restaurant, open for lunch Monday through Saturday and dinner Monday through Sunday. Check us out at 1760 North Vermont Avenue or call 323-665-4294. Hey, do you have an old customer classic car you're afraid to drive and enjoy? Well, bring that classic up to 2014 standards with BS Industries Incorporated. BS Industries is an award-winning Los Angeles-based company that designs and builds customs and hot rods of every conceivable form. BS Industries keeps a full range of service in-house that allows limitless creativity and attention to the personal desires of the client. Bodie Stroud is best known for sleek custom builds and puts his clients behind the wheel of their dreams. BS Industries specializes in metal fabrication, electrical work, suspension, exhaust systems, paint, upholstery. BS Industries can make your custom restoration or hot rod the ride of your dreams. Learn what Tim Allen, Johnny Depp, and Jay Leno know. Bodie Stroud can take your old car and make it your drive of pride and passion. Call BS Industries today at 818-768-7602, 818-768-7602, or go to BodieStroud.com, BODIESTROUD.com. Homeowners, now is the season to be thinking about your roof, because all it takes is one storm to turn a small roof problem into a major leak. If it's time for a new roof, call Sears at 888-465-9720. You can save $500 if you call right now. Sears licensed, fully insured contractors can get your roofing job done right. Just call 888-465-9720. Sears has a variety of shingles and styles that are built for long-lasting performance, and you'll save $500 if you call now. So call Sears for a free and home consultation at 888-465-9720. Hurry, offer ends soon. Not available in all areas. Installation provided by Sears authorized licensed contractors. License information available upon request. That's Sears Roofing. Call right now and save $500. Call 888-465-9720. 888-465-9720. Call Sears now and get that roof repaired. Call 888-465-9720.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant. Joining me is my co-host, Kim Michaels, and we're concluding our discussion about the film Interstellar and its implications for the planet. Kim, you were talking about how everything is consciousness, and it reminded me of Emoto, who was in Messages from Water, was talking about how water has consciousness, and he has proven that. So could you address the whole, what we could do in terms of becoming more one with the elements and the elementals?
Yes, that is a matter of really shifting our consciousness and tuning in and doing what we talked about in the movie, using love instead of the mind. I do have a book, it's several years old, but it's called Healing Mother Earth, and it goes into great depth and detail about the shift in consciousness that needs to happen. So Healing Mother Earth, if people are interested in that, that's a good book to study. But I also have a lot of material on the Ascended Master Light website that talks about it. And one of the things the masters are talking about is that we need to shift away from what they call force-based technology and a force-based mindset, which is basically what we talked about the movie with the macho male character, you know, that if hitting them doesn't work, then you just have to hit them harder. And if you can't bomb the problem away, you just have to have a bigger bomb. And when the consciousness shifts, like we have been talking about, the Ascended Masters say they are ready to release to us new technology that is not based on force. And that, first of all, means it does not have the side effects, such as pollution, that we are all beginning to see the devastating effects of.
And, you know, the consciousness does have to be ready for a lot of this technology because of the potential for abuse of it. Because as we've seen with pretty much, you know, anything that has been given to the 3D mindset, they will find a way to turn it into a weapon. In some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion. So what we really have to do is do the work individually. I'm saying this again, of raising our own consciousness and acting from this place of love and compassion for ourselves, for the planet, and for the rest of humanity, and stop, you know, this thinking that it's all about us and we're in it by ourselves, and that what we do because we have free will, that it does not impact other people. I think that's the toxic mindset.
That's exactly right, yeah. I mean, we see right now what's going on with the whole situation with Russia and Ukraine, where they're talking about we're going to have a new Cold War and all this stuff. And to me, that's really a sign that, of course, not Russia, but not even the United States has really transcended that force-based state of consciousness.
Yeah, so there's hope, but we do have a lot of work to do. And I think that, you know, continuing to talk about topics like this and possibilities, and especially with young people, you know, we've got to give them hope and empower them with new tools. And those tools are what elevate the mind. Thank you for joining us with this discussion on Divine Love Talk. I am your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, and be sure to check out Kim Michael's book, Healing Mother Earth. I've read it. It is amazing. And his website, Transcendence Toolbox, and AscendedMasterLight.com. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant. You can check me out on Divine Love Talk on Facebook.
Enjoying all your favorite CRN programming is easier than ever. It's right on your TV, through your local cable provider, and on the web at crntalk.com. But when you're on the move, stuck in a plane, train, or in your car, catch up on all the shows you missed. Or listen live to your favorites. Download our CRN app from your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Just search for CRN Digital Talk Radio. Or search for your favorite CRN shows on apps like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, AHA Radio, uTunes, and Nobex. Now you have access to all of our great shows anywhere in the world, and the ability to be part of them by calling our toll-free studio line at 800-336-2225. For more information on where and how to listen, log on to crntalk.com and create your own listening experience today.
The radio channel. The radio channel. CRN.
News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. 2 days after arriving at the University of Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha, Ebola patient Dr. Martin Celia has died.
He progressed to the point of cardiac arrest, and we weren't able to get him through this.
Dr. Dan Johnson is the hospital's critical care director.
We really gave it everything we could. All modern medical therapies were provided, and we wish there could have been a different outcome. But I'm also proud of the team for what they were able to try.
Celia contracted Ebola in Sierra Leone. Also at srnnews.com, a prosecutor in Paris has identified at least one Frenchman among the terrorists seen in a new ISIS video that shows a beheaded American aid worker. Meanwhile, Secretary of State John Kerry vows the U.S.-led fight against ISIS will continue.
It continues, yes, to commit terrible crimes. But it has also been forced to relinquish bases, abandon training sites, alter its mode of communications, disperse personnel, and stop the use of large convoys.
Kerry defines ISIS as a group that is defined by its crimes. It's a group whose claims of a righteous cause, according to Kerry, amount to nothing more than garbage. Senate Democratic leaders telling President Obama that they strongly support his plans to do an end run around Congress, taking executive action to alter the country's immigration system. There is a letter of support to the president signed by 6 top lawmakers. They include the incoming Senate Minority Leader, Harry Reid. Updating Wall Street, the Dow trading about 23 points higher. The NASDAQ Composite Index is down 15 points. And the S&P 500 index better by 2 points. This is SRN News.
You ever feel like Christmas has been hijacked by all the commercialism and those who want to replace Merry Christmas with Happy Holidays or Season's Greetings?
It's like a carjacking, but like of our religion.
Isn't it time somebody spoke up?
This Christmas season, join Kirk Cameron in his new movie, Saving Christmas.
Join me and my family, and together, let's put Christ back into Christmas.
Saving Christmas. In theaters for 2 weeks only, beginning November 14th. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. More information available at savingchristmas.com.
Lumber Liquidators has the hottest flooring trends and the hottest deals just in time for the holidays. Get the look of hardwood with Nirvana Plus, one of our best and thickest laminates. It's easy to install and it's all on sale. Plus, gorgeous Morningstar bamboo, the best-selling bamboo flooring in the United States, is all on sale. Or get pre-finished 3/4-inch solid Brazilian cherry hardwood for 24% off our already incredibly low prices. Plus, pay no interest until 2016 on flooring and installation. Sales going on now. Visit lumberliquidators.com to find a store near you.
The FBI has been given a heads up after authorities say they discovered a couple of Americans trying to ship containers of body parts from Thailand to Las Vegas.
The police tracked down the 2 American men who'd shipped the boxes. They said they'd found the body parts by chance at a night market in Bangkok. Thai police said they had committed no crime and released them, although they say they have informed the FBI in the U.S.
That's the BBC's Jonathan Head. The U.S. envoy says Washington is disappointed with Iran over the degree of cooperation is shown with a UN nuclear investigation over whether Tehran ever worked on atomic weapons. Report this month from the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency says the investigation has made no headway for months, despite pledges by Iranian leaders to cooperate. The IAEA has tried to follow up on the allegations for more than a decade. This is SRN News. A deadline has been extended to file for compensation from General Motors over faulty ignition switches.
The deadline to file has now been extended until January 31st, 2015. Kenneth Feinberg, the administrator of the GM Compensation Fund, announced the extension, saying he's determined 33 death claims are eligible for compensation by the fund. That's up from 32 last week. GM came under renewed criticism last week because the family of a Connecticut woman who died in a 2003 crash had not been notified that her crash was linked to the faulty switch. This latest development caused the family's lawyer and a U.S. senator to call on GM to extend the original deadline beyond December 31st. Linda Kenyon, SRN News.
The Obama administration says more than 1 million consumers visited healthcare.gov over the past weekend, start of the second sign-up season under the president's healthcare law. More details at srnnews.com.
Things aren't the same as they were when Geico started saving people money over 75 years ago. We didn't have reality TV. Back then, it was just reality. The most exciting thing that ever happened was when Jimmy got his head stuck in a gopher hole. And trust me, that's not a show anyone would binge watch. Yep, we didn't have much entertainment, but switching our car insurance to Geico was pretty exciting.
Geico, saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years.
to a greater brightness. Get ready to snap to a whole new level in your life with joy leading the way. Say yes to that inspired you and goodbye to your stuckness for good. Now, here is your host, Laura Longley.
Good morning. I'm Laura Longley, and you're listening to The Laura Longley Show on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience ways to get unstuck and live an inspired life full of meaning, purpose, and happiness. You know, it's another gorgeous sunny day in Seattle. I'm really loving this cold, clear weather that we've had. That's really one of my favorite things about wintertime is and I guess it's not even officially winter, but when we have these cold days with the bright blue sky, I just really love it. And even as much as I appreciate the rainy days for what they bring, I do have to say my spirits get lifted with this sunshine. So today we're going to be talking about your body and my body and how it's giving you messages through discomfort and illness. And I have many stories in my own life where once I recognized what my body was trying to tell me,